Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I have my November wrap up to do today and I'm actually doing it on time. I have a bunch of videos planned for December, which is why I'm trying to make my way through as many as I can. Last month I read a total of 18 books. I read a couple highly anticipated sequels. I read a couple holiday romances. So let's just jump into it. Here are all the books that I read back in November. Starting off with two books that I read on the Audible Plus catalog. I made a whole video talking about all the audiobooks that I read from the Plus catalog. So if you haven't watched that yet, go check it out. This first book was Heidi's Guide to Four-Letter Words by Andy Arndt and Tara Civic. If you have heard of Andy Arndt, then you probably know that she is a well-known romance audiobook narrator. She's narrated a ton of romances, but I think this might be her first time actually writing a book. She co-wrote it with another author. It's a very silly type of read, very much a rom-com, but with more emphasis on the comedy than the romance, unfortunately. So I give it 3 stars. It tried so hard to be funny, but I can't say that the humor worked all that well for me. But even though it wasn't for my taste, it might work better for some other people. If you've read Tara Civic before, if you've read any of her rom-coms, it's definitely more of that over-the-top style. But this is about a heroine who decides to start her own podcast where she only reads the steamy parts of a romance. She gave up her kindergarten teacher career to become this erotica podcaster. There's a romance with her hot next door neighbor, but honestly, it's pretty boring. Not much to say about that, but overall, it was okay for me. I did love the narration. Andy Arndt is always fantastic, but I can't say that I actually liked the story that much. And then I listened to The Takedown by Lily Chu. This one I also gave 3 stars to. I have really enjoyed Lily Chu in the past, but unfortunately this one is my least favorite of her books so far. It's a bit of an office romance, though the actual meet cute is really adorable. Dee and Teddy are online gamers. They have this friendly rivalry going on. They compete with each other all the time, but then they actually meet in person when Dee is hired as the new DEI consultant for Teddy's company. It's his company because he is the heir to the CEO. Dee's job is to uncover all of the unsavory things going on at this company, which is totally against what the CEO wants. So Teddy secretly works with Dee to do all of this, and they start up the secret relationship. And it's all to uncover the company's toxic work culture. And this whole plot definitely was the forefront of this book. The romance, unfortunately, took a step back. And even though I did really like this plot, I appreciated the message behind it. I wanted more romance because it was so cute in the beginning. It had the potential to be so much better. Like, I was excited to read about them, but we don't get that much, unfortunately. Still, it's not a bad book. It has some similar vibes to Lily Chu's previous books, so if you like those, then I would say give this one a try. And then I read one of my favorite reads of November, one of my favorite reads of 2023. It's The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. I have been such a fan of Elle Kennedy since forever, since she first came out with the Off-Campus series. So my anticipation for this release, which is the 2nd generation of the Off-Campus series, the spin-off series, it was high, and it actually lived up to all of my expectations. I absolutely adored it. I love the main characters so much. It delivered on the fun, the steam, and the humor. The heroine, Gigi, is Garrett and Hannah's daughter. Garrett and Hannah are from The Deal, the first off-campus book, and she is now all grown up. She's attending Briar U, and she has dreams of becoming an Olympic hockey player. I'll admit I was a little nervous. It's gonna be hard to live up to her parents, right? But she really did live up to them. She was able to stand out from them. And then Ryder is a new favorite grumpy hero for me. He's another hockey player who's attending Briar U. His team got dissolved, so he had to join this rival school. He's a new co-captain with Gigi's ex, and things are tense. Gigi and Ryder don't get along the greatest, but they come up with this little deal that'll help each other. Ryder will help Gigi train and get a spot on the Olympic team, and in exchange, she'll put in a good word for Ryder with her dad. Their romance is just so charming. It's got all that Elle Kennedy charm. It had me smiling and giggling. It was just so easy to dive back into this hockey world of Elle Kennedy's, so I loved it. I already cannot wait for the sequel, for the rest of the series, because it's gonna be amazing. My next read was The Rebel King by Gina L. Maxwell. This one is a sequel to The Dark King from last year, which I really liked, but sadly I didn't like this one quite as much, so I'm giving it 3 stars. I'm actually kind of sad about this one because that first book gave me all the good old school paranormal romance vibes, but this one just kind of missed the mark. The Rebel King follows that surprise twist that happened at the end of book 1, so I will mention some spoilers for book 1. If you haven't read it yet, you can skip ahead. Tiernan, the hero, he is the middle Fae brother. He has always been second in line to the throne, and he is happy about that because he never wants to be king. He loves his playboy lifestyle, but since his older brother abdicated the throne, Tiernan is now king of the Dark Fae. His heroine is Fiona, who is this lower caste Fae. They had a relationship before he took the throne, but because he is now king, their relationship is forbidden. They do continue on with this whole secret affair because Fiona does work really closely with Tiernan. She is literally the housekeeper, but I never got into this romance. I didn't see why they liked each other so much. Maybe if we got the beginning of how they first got together, it might have made a difference, but we're kind of plopped into the middle of their relationship. And also the story did feel a little repetitive. We have another Fae king hero. We have another heroine who is discovering new things about herself. I mean, she's not human like the first heroine, but she is not what she thinks she is. And there is so much more of the paranormal political world plot going on in the sequel that I just was super bored of. There wasn't a good balance of plot and romance, so didn't really love this one. And then I read Evil Enemy by Elle Thorpe. This is the first book in the Saint View strip series, which is part of her whole Saint View world. It's MF and it is a standalone, but it is also pretty closely connected to the Saint View prison series, so you don't have to read that series to understand this one. It's about a good guy cop falling for the owner of a strip club. So they're working on like totally different sides, but they start seeing each other a lot because of this local politician who's trying to take down Eve's strip club. It's not savory enough for their town, so they're trying to get rid of it. And Boston is the cop who gets hired as that politician's bodyguard. Thankfully, Boston doesn't agree with that politician, but Eve and Boston do still go head to head. There's a lot of banter and the steam was fantastic, just like all the other Elle Thorpe books. And then there's a good amount of suspense mixed in as well. So it was a very well-rounded read. I gave it 4 stars. The audiobook is fantastic too. It's got duet narration and it was great. And then my next read is a hockey romance. I read Goal by Alexandria House and I adored it. I gave it 4 stars. It's the first book in her new hockey romance series. I didn't even realize that it was a series when I first read it, so I'm super excited to read more. Since it's Alexandria House, the romance does get a little messy with some other woman drama, but since I love the romance so much, that whole thing didn't even faze me. Malik, our hockey player hero, he is living the dream. He is at the top of his hockey career. He has a girlfriend that he just proposed to, but then he finds out that his estranged dad has just passed away and he now has guardianship of his 2 siblings that he never knew existed. He does take in these siblings, but he hires a nanny because he has no idea how to be like a pseudo dad. This is when Nuri is hired, and this is also when Malik's fiance shows her true colors. He chooses the kids over the fiance, so she leaves him, but not without causing some issues. And all while this is happening, this great friendship is forming between Malik and Nuri that does involve a little bit of a crush. And once the fiance is out of the picture, they finally can get together. Like I said, it is a little messy, might be some emotional cheating going on, but I just loved Nuri and Malik together. There's so much fantastic chemistry. You can really feel the romance and the love between them. Like, things especially heated up when she moved in to become the live-in nanny. It was just so much fun. I highly recommend it if you love hockey romances. And then I found another favorite of the year for me. It is from one of my all-time favorite authors, but surprisingly, it's a young adult book. I read a young adult book. If you know me, you know I don't really read YA anymore. I kind of outgrew it after high school. But when one of my favorite authors comes out with a YA book, I'm gonna read it, and I ended up loving it. It's Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I mean, it's not all that surprising since it is Ali, and I love everything from her, but what was surprising about this one was that it's more like a new adult romance. It's a new adult chess romance. Neither of the main characters are in high school anymore. The heroine, Mallory, she is working her butt off to support her family because her father passed away, her mom has a chronic illness, and she has 2 younger siblings to support. But then she gets fired and desperately needs money, and in comes this perfect opportunity to earn some money. She just doesn't really want to take it because it'll bring her back into the chess world, and she wants nothing to do with chess because it reminds her of her dad. She has no other choice though, so she does get accepted into the program to like train and enter these chess competitions, and she gets to be reunited with the hero Nolan, who is the #1 chess player in the world, except for the one time that Mallory beat him. We have a lot of close proximity going on between these two because they're traveling together, they're playing chess together. Nolan very obviously is obsessed with Mallory. He is pining hard for her. He is another Ali pining hero. He has not been able to stop thinking about her since he was defeated by her. She intrigues him, and she's also the one who makes him fall back in love with chess, and they are the cutest thing together. I adored Mallory and her strength and resilience and just her pure love for her family. Her family is also so great too. Like, her siblings are hilarious, and there's so many touching and meaningful moments between them all. Even if you don't read YA anymore, I still highly recommend it. I mean, I don't read it anymore, but I gave this one 5 stars. I read a cowboy romance next that has been popping off this year. It's Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I've had this book on my radar for a little bit since it went viral, and it also got picked up by a publisher like really quickly. And also, this cover is so cute. I love the vintage look of it. So I read it, and I'll admit I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I gave it 3 stars. It felt very okay. Nothing about this cowboy small town romance really felt unique to me, or there just wasn't anything that stood out to me. The writing was fine, the characters are nice, but nothing wowed me. Maybe it's because I had too high expectations about it that it did let me down a bit, but it is a brother's best friend romance. It's set in this small Wyoming town, and it's kind of childhood enemies to lovers. Growing up, Luke has always picked on Emmy, so they don't get along the greatest. Even as adults, they're iffy, but it's been a long time since they've seen each other, and she finally returns back to their small town after an accident. And this hero is very shocked by how grown up and hot she is now. It was really interesting that Emmy was this professional barrel racer, but because of that accident, she couldn't continue with her career. Luke helps her learn to get back on a horse again, and the romance is pretty sweet here. They see each other all the time because they're working together on this ranch. So overall, it wasn't a bad debut. There's a good amount of steam, and I can see why people love this one so much. Small town cowboy romances are just the big thing right now, so this came at the perfect time, but sadly it just wasn't a favorite for me. Next, I read Off the Grid by Kate Bromberg. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It's a sports romance, a Formula One sports romance. It's the first book in the Full Throttle series, and the main characters first meet at a bar. Kate Bromberg always writes some good chemistry between her main characters, so there's a lot of that here, a lot of attraction in the beginning. They do kiss, but then the heroine finds out that the hero only kissed her because of a bet, so she feels pretty bad. They do meet again though after this, when Riggs is the new F1 racer for Cammie's family motorsports company. So basically, Riggs has already messed up on his new job. He messed up with his new boss's daughter, and honestly, I was not liking his character. He's just not likable. There's that whole bet thing, but all he really does is antagonize Cammie for a good amount of this book. Cammie does make up a little bit for Riggs' deficiencies. I just felt like she had a lot more depth to her character, so I appreciated her. The F1 aspect was very fun, super entertaining, and it was kind of perfect timing when I read it because the F1 race was about to happen in Vegas. So if you love racing sports, if you love Formula One, then definitely check this out. I didn't love it, but I still had a fun time. Okay, I just realized my lights kind of died on me, so I fixed the batteries, which is kind of perfect timing because I'm going to be talking about two holiday romances that I read next, and they were both from Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy. The first one that I read was their novella Snow Place Like LA. I adored A Merry Little Meet Cute last year, so I was really excited to read more of the Christmas Notch series. This was cute. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's an MM romance novella about Angel and Luca who first met and fell in love in the first book. Like, they met on set there, but then Angel broke Luca's heart when he left for a completely different country for school. Now they're both back in LA for the summer and things do heat up again. They're both clearly not over each other yet, and there's a lot of unresolved feelings. It's a little bit silly, a little bit angsty, a lot of cuteness here, but there's also a lot of the miscommunication trope. And then I had a great time with book 2 in the series, A Holly Jolly Ever After. We have the second member of the former boy band that the whole series is about. Callum was the funny one of Inc, but since they're disbanding, he went on to become the owner of this pizza restaurant. He also sleeps with a lot of bridesmaids, which causes him trouble because he goes a little bit viral in a sex tape. Winnie, the heroine, is an actress who is very used to being in very wholesome movies, but she's just been cast in this very steamy romance movie along with Callum as co-leads. This heroine grew up in the whole purity culture, so this movie is a very learning experience for her because there's a lot of intimate scenes with Callum, and eventually that kind of leads to Callum actually showing her for real how to be intimate. Basically, he helps her unravel her childhood trauma through lots of orgasms. Callum has a very lovable golden retriever energy, though he still does have a lot of growing up to do. It's the opposite dynamic compared to book 1, because in book 1, the heroine was the porn star, and in the second book, the hero is the one with the sex tape. I did like this flip in the characters, though I'm curious to see how the third one will turn out, but this was a very entertaining time, lots of heart and silliness. Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy do make a good writing duo, so I'm glad they're writing more of these Christmas romances. My next book is a romance that a lot of people have been waiting for, and it's finally here. It's Caution to the Wind by Gianna Darling, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's book 7 in the Fallen Men series, her motorcycle club series, and it's Axeman's book, though his real name is Henning. It's a very juicy age gap romance. It's a falling for your best friend's dad, well, stepdad romance. May is Chloe's childhood best friend, and ever since she was young, she's had a big crush on Chloe's stepdad. It develops into this very deep adult love as she grows up, but then something tragic happens that causes them to tear apart. May was left behind, but she's never forgotten Henning and Chloe. And she also never stops on her quest for revenge for Chloe's mother, who died tragically, because Chloe's mom was like a mom to May too. There's just so much to May's character. I loved her so much. She might be my new favorite Gianna Darling heroine. I just love a fierce heroine who will go to the ends of the earth to protect the ones that she loves. And then the romance is fantastic. It's hot and angsty. It's a little bit slow burn too, but it's packed with emotions and chemistry. May and Axeman, May and Henning are literally years in the making, not just in the book, but for us readers too. And even though he hates her now when she shows up in his MC town, he really can't deny that they are so meant to be together. Like, this love, this connection that they have, it's raw and powerful, and I just love the way that they obsess over each other so much. So this was fantastic, definitely worth the wait. I do still need to finish up the rest of the series though. I'm not caught up with it yet. Kind of skipped over a couple books to read this one, but I will go back, I promise. Next, I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I was so intrigued by this one when I first read the blurb. It's like a time travel romance, but the time travel is just within this apartment that the heroine's aunt owns. And the people who are time traveling are the ones who are either staying there or visiting. So Clementine has just inherited this apartment after her aunt's passing, and she wakes up one day to find a stranger living there too. His name is Ewan. He is renting this apartment from her aunt, and he's also living 7 years in the past. He's this cook who dreams of becoming a well-known chef and running his own restaurant. And the romance between Ewan and Clementine is so freaking cute. It's so good. I absolutely adored them together. I mean, it's not like they spend that much time together, but the little glimpses that they get, that they have with each other, it's so meaningful and powerful. He has achieved his dreams, but at the cost of his soul, because his whole personality is just completely different. Present day Ewan is cold and angry at Clementine, and I love the chemistry between them. The juxtaposition between the soft and fluffy romance with past Ewan and the heart-wrenching and angsty one with present day Ewan, that was so good. It was just a great read with this fantastic concept of right person, wrong time, literally. So I'm giving this one maybe 4.5 stars. I also read The Skeletons of Society by Marie Maravilla. It's this mafia slash motorcycle club romance that I read for my book club. It's a debut from a fairly new author, and it was good. I give it 3.5 stars. It had a solid story, though the writing was a little bit iffy for me, but it had me intrigued and invested, and I would read this author again. Like, I definitely want to continue with the series, but it's just not high up on my TBR. So this is the first book in the Toxic Paradise series, and it's about a heroine who is basically second in command of this powerful cartel. Ryan is their executioner, so she is a boss. The hero, Gunnar, is in a motorcycle club. He is their sergeant at arms, and now that the cartel and the MC are partnering up, these two have to work together. It's very much insta-lust, like they want each other badly right from the beginning. There's a lot of steam. Gunnar is very much a dirty talker, although sometimes it was a little bit too much, bordering on cringy. We get to see both of them in action, which I really appreciated, and there is a lot of action going on in this book, which is good because I do like action to go with my mafia or motorcycle club romances, and I did feel like there was a good balance of both. Usually, you know, books are either one or the other, but it had both mafia and MC. And I will give props to the author because there was a twist at the end that I did not see coming. So yes, I did like this debut. I definitely want to read more. The second book in the series is the author's Why Choose, and that one sounds really interesting. And then I finally read Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I like this one, not as much as Fourth Wing, but it was still good. I gave Fourth Wing 4 stars, so I'll probably just give this one 3.5 stars. I would probably give this more like a 3.75 if I gave quarter ratings, but I don't. And even though I'm giving this 3.5 stars, it was still a very fun read. Like, it was super easy to be back in this whole dragon rider world, and I do still really enjoy Violet's character. Xaden grew on me a lot in this sequel too, mostly because he was such a believer in their relationship, whereas Violet is the one who is a lot more wary because of all the lies that happened at the end of Fourth Wing. There's just so much that happens in Iron Flame, though the beginning was pretty slow. It opens up with Violet back in Basgiath College and having found out the truth about Xaden and the whole revolution, but she has to keep quiet about all of it. There is a teacher who is very determined to get the truth out of her though, so he causes a lot of problems. The second half of this chunky book is set outside of the college, and it was a lot more entertaining and a lot more easy to get invested in. This was where the pacing picked up so much better, and I just really loved learning about what was going on outside of college. The romance, even though I did like Xaden more, it was still rocky. There's a lot of repetitiveness here, but my favorite thing, just like in book 1, was all the dragons. I still love Taryn and Andarna so much. They are the reason why I enjoy the series. Andarna does have some secrets that do get revealed in the sequel. It is a crazy time with all the twists and turns, but we still don't get all the answers though. And by the end of this book, you are left wanting more, so I am looking forward to the sequel, but I'm really hoping that the author and the publisher take their time with the future books, because the series does have such a great potential to be incredible. I read another holiday romance in November. This is Wrapped with a Bow by Lily Vale. I mostly picked this up because I love the title, but I have read this author before and I've enjoyed her. This one though was just okay. I give it 3 stars. It's this opposites attract grumpy sunshine romance. It's a Christmas romance in a small town that's known for being the place where this famous holiday movie was filmed. The heroine Alicia grew up here, and now that she is a film liaison, she really wants a sequel to that movie to be filmed in her small town again, but she's having trouble getting approval to film at the town's historic Christmas house, which is now owned by the hero, who really wants nothing to do with it because he wants to sell it as soon as possible. But Alicia, in all her sunshininess, wears him down, and he also can't help but want to learn more about her. So the beginning of this book was going great. It's got all the good small town winter holiday vibes. The hero is a grump. I do love some good grumpy sunshine tropes, but I was expecting this book to mostly be about Alicia having to convince Vess to allow her to film at his house, but that kind of gets over with pretty quickly, like in the first quarter of the book. He says yes by then, so that part was over in a snap, and there's not much of a plot for the rest of this book. Vess is continuously grumpy, feeling sorry for himself, and Alicia is continuously sunshiny and loving the holidays. Vess's character did get tiring to read after a little bit because he just could not stop feeling sorry for himself. He has this tragic backstory, but he focused on it way too much. There's really not much to this book, but it's still an easy time. So if you're craving something Christmassy and wintry, this is still a pretty good read. I also read my very first Kathleen E. Woodiwiss book. It's been a hot minute since I read like an old school historical romance, and I miss them. But for a book club, I finally read the author who is considered to be the first historical romance author, and this was her very first book. It's The Flame and the Flower, and it was such a fascinating read. I'm giving it 3 stars because I liked it, but also didn't like it. It was published in 1972. It's considered as the first historical romance book, the first bodice ripper, and since it is a bodice ripper, we do have some bodice ripping going on, aka assault. We do have sexual assault by the hero on the heroine here, which I wasn't too surprised by. It's not the first time I've read this in a historical romance, and it definitely won't be the last, but overall the book was really interesting to me. I was surprised by how modern the writing felt. Like, if you take out all the assault, I feel like it could still be published today. Whether people would like it would be a different story, but it didn't feel like it was published over 50 years ago. So this is a historical about a very virginal Heather who grew up with her abusive aunt. When she gets the chance to leave her village and go to London with her aunt's brother, she takes it immediately. But this uncle of hers is a creep and tries to assault Heather when she gets to the city, so she runs away, but then is taken by men who think she's a whore onto the hero's ship. She's given to Brandon, the captain hero, who also thinks she's a prostitute. He does take her against her will because of this, so already it's like, oof, okay. But nothing that I wasn't really expecting. When I go into old school historical romances, I go into them knowing that they're a product of their time. And apparently people liked reading about this stuff. But the thing about Brandon is that he doesn't actually get any better about this. He continues to assault Heather at the beginning of the book. He's very much a man of the 1800s, thinking that he owns her. She does run away again, but she discovers that she's pregnant and her family forces her to marry Brandon, who is not happy about it. He's feeling resentful, but at least he's not forcing himself onto Heather again. He doesn't do that at all anymore after that whole beginning, which still isn't really a thing to be proud of either. So obviously this beginning was really rough, but everything else I was surprisingly into. The story had me invested. I was curious to see how Heather would actually fall in love with Brandon. I like the slow pacing because of course it's gonna take a long time for her to forgive him. But ultimately, did I believe in the romance? Not really, so it's a flat 3 stars. It was just a very fascinating read of a book that's considered the first historical romance. Overall, I'm just glad I read it. And then my final book of November is another new to me author. I read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. It's her newest release, book 2 in the When in Rome series. It's a small town romance, and I liked it okay. I gave it 3 stars. The series is about the Walker siblings in the small town of Rome, Kentucky, and the second book is about the youngest sister. She's the definition of wholesome and adorable, and the hero is a bodyguard, but he's not her bodyguard. Will is Annie's sister-in-law's bodyguard, and Annie has had a crush on him since the moment that she laid eyes on him. I never read book 1, but I'm assuming he was involved in that book too. So he's back in town now. He's doing some more bodyguarding for the sister-in-law, but he is prepared to leave as soon as that's done. He doesn't want anything tying him down, which is why he very reluctantly agrees to help Annie with her lessons in flirting and seduction because her dating life is abysmal. But of course, predictably, they do fall hard for each other while they're practicing, even though they both know that Will is gonna leave eventually. It's a very light and fluffy read, though I will say Will still needs a lot of therapy for his family issues. If you're in the mood for something that's easy to pass the time with, this would definitely work. I'm just not entirely sold on the author just yet with this book. I know she's popular, but this was just okay. And that's it for all the books that I read in November. Lots of new favorites of the year, a lot of new to me authors as well. So let me know if you've read any of the books that I just talked about. I'd love to hear your thoughts and see if we feel the same way. As always, links to everything will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!